Good morning. I am the Golden Grizzly. You can call me McDuff. I'm just someone who likes playing D&D and makes a lot of homebrew for it in my free time. I'm gonna do a full proper introduction at some point, once I figure out a sort of identity for this channel. But for now, this is just a very impulsively made creative outlet. I'm still just a glowing orb, so for now, I'll be a variety of stock bear images. There we go. Today I wanted to talk about the new 1D&D playtest, the expert classes. That is to say the Bard, the Ranger, the Rogue, and each of their single subclasses. I'm not covering feats and spells for now, just class info. Also, because you can find tons of other people just summarizing this information, I'm going to attempt to offer something unique. Along with some initial thoughts and occasional opinions, I'm going to specifically be talking about each of these classes' potential. Potential for what exactly? Well, let's talk about it. Have you ever wondered why the Cleric has more subclasses than the Sorcerer, or the Monk more so than the Rogue? I believe that these things are determined by a class's potential. Potential's literal definition is the qualities or abilities that may be developed and lead to future success or usefulness. Thanks, Google. Let's change that definition a bit for the purposes of D&D and homebrew. Potential is features, resources, and flavor that may be altered or expanded upon to lead to new content. Let's give a quick example of each of those points. For features, a Barbarian's Rage is a great example. It's a feature that's usually expanded upon with new subclasses, like having your rage be accompanied by storms, spectral warriors, or wild magic surges. Another example is how rogue subclasses almost always give them a new way to use their sneak attack feature. Point systems are a perfect example of resources, most notably the monk's key points and the sorcerer's sorcery points. Their subclasses very commonly grant them new ways to expend these points. Lastly, the cleric and fighter are very solid examples of classes who have high potential related to flavor. Clerics represent different aspects of life and different deities, so new subclasses are in high demand. Likewise, the term fighter is so incredibly broad that it is easy for them to gain new subclasses for the flavor alone. Now, this is all info that I've gathered by making subclasses for the 5e 2014 Player's Handbook version of these classes. But as the new 1D&D versions slowly get released, I wanted to try and talk about their potential as new changes in mechanics are shown. Let's start with the iconic Bardic Inspiration ability has been reworked slightly, now being proficiency bonus times per long rest and purely a reactionary ability. As of this playtest, there is no giving out Bardic Inspiration as a bonus action, only giving it out as a reaction to failed d20 tests and to a creature taking damage, healing them an amount equal to the number rolled. This leads to one of the more notable changes to the Bard, which is that it now is clearly intended to fill a somewhat healer-type role. This is seen by Bardic Inspiration being able to restore hit points as a reaction, and its second level ability, Songs of Restoration. This ability gives the Bard access to healing spells that are not found on the arcane spell list, that the Bard always has prepared and can't be taken off. This all means that Bards will almost always have plenty of different options for healing. Onto spellcasting, Bards now prepare their spells. This means at the end of a long rest, a Bard can re-prepare all of their spells, including cantrips. This is an incredible sense of versatility for them. However, the spells they can prepare must be on the arcane spell list and of the divination, enchantment, illusion, and transmutation schools of magic. This may seem bad, but it actually doesn't affect the playtest Bard spell list too much compared to its 5e counterpart. Still, I think this limitation leads to many possibilities. I'm imagining Bard subclasses in the future that grant access to other schools of magic, like Abjuration or Evocation. I can't say for certain if this kind of idea will become official, but I'm definitely planning on trying it out for my homebrew subclasses in the future. Now onto its subclass, but first, a quick note about subclasses in general. All subclasses in this playtest document progress at 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th level. This is new, and Jeremy Crawford has said, quote, "We are normalizing subclass progression," end quote. The way I understand, all subclasses will follow this progression for all classes. I'd love to talk about the implications of this, but hopefully another time. For now, just know that this is the progression for all subclasses in this document. Because of this new progression, bards get at least 4 subclass features now instead of the 3 it used to get. This is great, because more subclass features means more opportunities to expand and alter with homebrew and UA. The one thing I wanted to mention about the College of Lore specifically is the 3rd level feature, Cutting Words. It's essentially the opposite of Bardic Inspiration. Instead of using your reaction to add onto a roll, you can use your reaction to subtract to an ability check or attack roll you can see. While gaining new ways to use your Bardic Inspiration is incredibly standard for bards, it feels far less impactful with 2 to 3 uses per long rest at early levels. Not to mention that all of its uses so far require your reaction. I just worry that it's too many things that all need your reaction and you have so few uses of it and they recharge on a long rest until level 7 and it's just too much in my opinion. Just something I'm pointing out that I'm going to be mentioning on the survey later this month. Overall, I feel the bard has a medium amount of potential. At the forefront is definitely Bardic Inspiration and the bounds of possibility that it as a resource and support option can provide. Alongside that, the school limitation I think will be resulting in many interesting bard subclasses, either official or homebrew. Outside of that, I don't feel that the bard's regular features or flavor will allow its subclasses to rise to groundbreaking new heights, but it is still reliable enough to get its fair share of great subclasses. Next up, we have Now I'm a huge Ranger fan, so apologies for the biased gushing. The best change for the Ranger is the Favored Enemies feature, which gives you no concentration Hunter's Mark, always prepared. A very welcome change that we'll talk about the potential of in a little bit. Rangers also get spellcasting at level 1, cantrips, and the ability to prepare their spells. They use the primal spell list, and their only restriction is no spells of the Evocation School of Magic, which is hardly a restriction considering the primal spell list has barely any. Now the base Ranger doesn't appear to have much potential on its own, but the Hunter subclass includes some very interesting concepts. The 6th level subclass feature, Hunter's Lore, allows you to know the vulnerabilities, resistances, and immunities of a creature affected by your Hunter's Mark. This is so simple, but so filled with possibility. I'm fully predicting that nearly every Ranger subclass will add some new benefit to Hunter's Mark, and if they don't, I will. It's a very simple addition, but this will most likely be the cornerstone of the Ranger. The Hunter's 10th level feature, Multi-Attack, includes a very experimental but exciting concept, downcasting. You can cast Conjure Barrage with lower level spell slots, doing less damage of course, but this is still something we've never seen before in 5e. I can already picture this working perfectly with so many spells. My mind goes to Steel Wind Strike working with any martial class. Unfortunately, that's a Xanathar spell, and we're currently only dealing with spells from the player's handbook, but the possibilities are definitely there. This also isn't unique to Rangers specifically, but they're the first to introduce it, so they get bonus points. Overall, I feel the Ranger has a very high amount of potential, at least compared to its 5e counterpart. The highlight is definitely Hunter's Mark and all of the possibilities that it gives. Plus, downcasting could be a major game changer for all half-casters. Overall, I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. Lastly, we have So the Rogue is mostly unchanged. Jeremy Crawford mentioned the class and its features were some of the most consistently highly rated in their surveys, so there are very few differences. One of the biggest changes though is the huge nerf to rogues. As of this playtest document and the rules as we know them, Rogue Sneak Attack specifies needing to take the attack action. This removes the possibility of rogues getting sneak attack with opportunity attacks or synergies with the Battlemaster's Commander's Strike maneuver. This is a huge blow for them in my opinion, and something I plan on mentioning in the survey later this month. Not much else to talk about, so on to the subclass. So the Rogue benefits from this new subclass progression immensely. Originally gaining subclass features at 3rd, 9th, 13th, and 17th level, you can now get your subclass features a whole lot faster at 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th level. I think this is a pretty huge deal. This was a major problem I personally had with rogues, how long it took for your subclass to actually start affecting your character beyond 3rd level. Onto the actual subclass, the Thief, they don't get a whole lot in terms of altering and enhancing other rogue abilities. Most rogue subclasses usually give them new ways to gain sneak attack or use their bonus action, which is what the thief does, specifically allowing you to make a sleight of hand check to disarm locks and take the search action. This isn't too unique or game-changing, but this playtest document includes many new actions. We have the jump, influence, and study actions, which all have the potential for rogues to use as a bonus action. Overall though, I feel the rogue has a relatively low amount of potential. While the new actions are neat and could be implemented into cunning action, they don't feel quite fulfilling enough. Rogues will also probably get the usual enhancements to sneak attack with future subclasses, but that's standard and expected. Ultimately, I don't see many new exciting rogue subclasses in the future, but the class is overall better by gaining subclass features earlier. Based off of what Jeremy Crawford was saying about the survey results, the mindset here is probably, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what are my final thoughts as someone who just likes playing D&D, makes too much homebrew, and decided to make a video about it? Well, I really like a lot of the new changes I'm seeing. I feel like these expert classes have the same, if not far more potential than their 5e counterparts. Hopefully I'll be talking about the other class groups and their potential as they get released, not to mention the development and ideas presented from future subclasses. Feel free to let me know what you think. As for me, I think I'm gonna go to sleep. Thank you for watching, and good night.